Hello students, it's Uncle C, CNC Education Consult, and I welcome you all to our lessons for today. Today we are looking at mathematics. Mathematics is the subject we are treating today, and the topic we are discussing is fractions. Students, my expectation is that after these lessons, you should be able to know the meaning of fractions. You should also be able to know the examples of fractions and then some types of fractions. So without wasting much time, let's dive into it. So what is a fraction? I'm going to use a diagram to illustrate the meaning of fractions. So I have right here a circle, and in this circle I'm going to divide the circle into several parts. So we go. Good. So I have right here a circle, and this circle is divided into several parts. So we are going to number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this circle is divided into 8 equal parts. Now, when we talk of fractions, fractions are parts of a whole. Parts of a whole. So this is a circle. The circle on the board can be termed as a whole. Now, when we divide this circle into several parts, and here we are, you can see on the board that this circle is divided into 8 equal parts. So a fraction is what? A part of a whole. So we have a part of a whole. That's what fractions are, a part of a whole. So that means when we come here, the first part of this circle will be 1 over 8. 1 over 8. The second part will be 2 over 8. The third part, 3 over 8. The fourth part, 4 over 8. The fifth part, 5 over 8. The sixth part, 6 over 8, the seventh part, 7 over 8, and then the eighth part, 8 over 8. So a circle is a part of a whole. This portion is shaded, so it becomes 1 out of 8 equal parts. 1 out of 8 equal parts. So when we come here too, and here is shaded, it becomes 2 out of 8 equal parts. And it goes on and on and on. So students, when we talk of a circle, when we talk of fractions, fractions are parts of a whole, and the circle rightly explains it. Now, let's look at some examples of fractions, So right here, 1 over 8 is an example of a fraction. 1 over 8 is an example of a fraction. 2 over 8 is also an example. 3 over 8 is an example. 4 over 8, 5 over 8, 6 over 8. So all the examples you are seeing here, we can refer to them as some of the examples of fractions. But when we dive deeper into the types of fraction, you get to know some other examples. So let's look at it. Now, we are looking at the types of fractions. So we have several types of fractions, students. We have several types of fractions, but I will just give you few of them. And when next we meet, you will come up with more types. Now, so we have what we call proper fractions. So proper fractions are fractions whose numerators are less than the denominators. Fractions whose numerators are less than the denominators. When we say numerators, what does that mean? It means the number at the top, the number that is at the top of every fraction is referred to as the numerator. The number at the top of every fraction is referred to as the numerator. And the number at the down of every fraction is referred to as the denominator. So proper fractions are those fractions whose numerators are less than the denominators. The examples are here already. 1 over 8, 6 over 8, 5 over 8, 3 over 8, and 4 over 8. They are examples of what? Of proper fractions. Now let's go on and look at another type of fractions. So we have improper fractions. Improper fractions. Just as we have proper fractions having their numerators less than their denominators, improper fractions, their fractions have the numerators more than the denominators. So it's just like the opposite of proper fractions is improper fractions. So improper has the numerator more than the denominator. So you just come and do a changeover of the fractions that are already on the board. So 2 over 8, now the 8 goes up. The 8 goes up and then the 2 comes down. So this is an improper fraction because the numerator, which is the top number, is more than the denominator, which is the down number. Another example here, the 3 over 8, which was first a proper fraction, will now be an improper fraction if the down number 8 goes now to the top. So it goes to the top and it becomes 8 over 3. 8 over 3. So 8 over 3 is an example of improper fraction. Now let's move on and look at another example of another type of fractions. So we have what we also call mixed fractions. Mixed fractions. Mixed fractions. That's another type of fraction. Now, just as the name suggests, mixed fractions are fractions that have whole numbers and fractional parts. They are fractions that have whole numbers and fractional parts. What are whole numbers, students? What are whole numbers? Whole numbers are the normal numbers we count on daily basis. So mixed fractions is a combination of a whole number and a fraction. Let's look at example. Let's look at example of that and see. Example of mixed fractions. So for mixed fraction, we have, let's say, 2 whole number, 1 over 5. That's one example. 6 whole number, 3 over 6. That's another one. Then third example, 1 whole number, 1 over 2. So these are examples of mixed fractions. These are examples of mixed fractions because they have both whole numbers and then a fraction. So here, this is the whole number 2, and here is the fraction. Here too, this is the whole number 6, and here is the fraction. Here is the whole number 1, and here is the fraction. So we call these mixed fractions. Now let's proceed. We also have another type of fraction which we call decimal numbers or decimal fractions. These ones, as the name suggests. So numbers, the numbers are, let's say for instance, 0.01 is a decimal number. So in fractions, it can also be classified into the various groups or the types of fractions. So we have another one to say, let's say 0.002. So these are decimal numbers. But like I said, when we are talking about fractions, we include these ones as well as some of the types, because questions will come in the future where you'll be asked to change these to fractions. Thank you very much, students. Like I said, we are just looking at the various bases of fractions. And then, as I said, my expectation is that at the end of the lesson, you will get to know what a fraction is. You will get to know some examples of fractions, and then you will get to know some of the types. These are not all the types. There are several types, but I have given you just few because I want to challenge you to build on the knowledge that you've received. So with these few examples, I expect you as students, as your assignment, to list more of the types of fractions with their examples. So a quick recap of what we have done today, students. We looked at a fraction as a fraction is a part of a whole. A fraction is a part of a whole. Then we looked at the examples of fractions. 1 over 3, 2 over 3, 5 over 3, 7 over 3, one whole number, 2 over 3, and so on. These are also examples of fractions. Then from there, we looked at the types of fractions. The types of fractions. So we looked at them in several ways. I think we looked at 3 of them. We looked at proper fractions as fractions with their numerators less than the denominator. Fractions having their numerators less than the denominator. And then improper fractions, which is the opposite of proper fractions. So here we learned that they are fractions whose numerators are more than the denominators. Fractions whose numerators are more than the denominators. Then from there, we move to mixed fractions. Mixed fractions. Mixed fractions, I explained to you that they are fractions having both whole numbers and then fractional parts. They have numbers and then fractions. A combination of number and then a fraction. Mixed fractions. Then last but not the least, I included decimal numbers. I included decimal numbers as part of some of the types of fractions, because here you may be asked in the near future to change a decimal fraction, a decimal number to a fraction. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best, and I expect you to learn and learn more, make review. When there is any question, any of the teachings you do not understand, try to send us your comments on our YouTube channels, C and